Hello. Welcome to Tales of the Crossing. I hope you enjoy our first tale, Tanya's story. Tanya was sitting, obviously bored, at an internet cafe when I first saw her. She was reading through emails with a look of disinterest on her face, and kept glancing over at me with a look of what seemed to be a cross of intrigue and fear. I wondered if maybe I looked like her boyfriend's ex or something, though I most certainly wasn't the ex in question. As she continued to frequently glance at me, I determined that I had to know why, so after I got my coffee to stay and a muffin, I approached her table. Her face paled when she saw me, and I could tell she knew she had been caught. "Mind if I sit?" I asked her, and she silently nodded her agreement. Good girl, I thought to myself. It's always easier when people are compliant. "So, what is so interesting about me that you felt the need to look at me so much?" I asked, trying not to be mean or intimidating. The poor girl looked scared to death. I wonder. No, that's impossible, I thought, then chastised myself mentally for allowing such foolish thoughts to enter my head. She looked me dead in the eyes when she responded, and with a look of pretend courage that I saw right through. "I know what you are." Her voice was laced with panic, and I stared at her, taken aback by her words. "What?" I said after I regained my composure enough to speak. "You're one of them, the other people, the ones with power," she said quietly. I could tell by her posture that she was terrified. I didn't bother trying to hide the truth or waste my breath trying to convince her she was wrong or crazy. I was much too shocked for that. "How did you know?" I asked her firmly. I can't explain it. I can just tell. I have always been able to. You aren't the first I have met, and I'm sure you won't be the last. Look, I don't talk about it. Too many people would call me crazy, and I'm not going to some nut house. I'm sorry." I kept looking at you. Like that, I just can't tell which of your kind are good and which are bad. I stared at her in stunned silence for a moment, glancing around the cafe for any others. There were none. I relaxed a bit, but almost immediately, the door chimed and a man walked through. Another one. And based on his posture, he had heard the conversation. He walked up to the counter, and I whispered across to her, "We need to leave. Now." "I know. I saw him," she responded. Are you going to hurt me?" "No, but he will. Now let's go." I left my coffee and muffin untouched at the table, took her hand, and led her calmly to the door. It was time to run, and run fast. So as soon as we were outside, we took off down the sidewalk without looking back. We ran about a mile before she was gasping for breath. I couldn't help thinking of humans as hopeless at that point. We walked a few more miles after that until we reached my current residence, a makeshift home inside an abandoned warehouse. She looked over at me and asked, "What happens now?" Her tone was laced with an unimaginable amount of fear and sadness, and in that moment I knew I had to keep her safe. My people would kill her. That man would have already reported her knowing too much. The hunt would start very soon. I didn't lie to her. I told her the truth. They're going to try to kill you. You know too much, and in their mind that makes you dangerous. She breathed in a deep breath, attempting to maintain her composure, and whispered, "Will you tell me your name? I'd like to know it before I, die. My name is Nikki, and I'm going to try to keep that from happening to you. I will try to save you." She looked as though she was going to cry after the words left my tongue, but she didn't. Instead, she said, "It's nice to meet you, Nikki. I'm Tanya. I'm 22 years old. I have 2 younger sisters. They're 14 and 16. My father died in the military when I was 10, and my mother is a strong, loving woman who raised me and my sisters by herself while working 2 jobs. I live on my own now, in a cheap studio apartment, and work as a secretary to a well-off businessman, who would like nothing more than to bend me over his desk and have his way with me. He's an asshole in his mid-40s, married with 2 kids, and an adulterous prick. I enjoy the arts, and music is my life. I'm Tanya. I live an average life surrounded by average people. I won't tell, so why can't I just keep living my life in peace?" As she finished speaking, the tears slipped from her eyes, and I let her be. Sometimes people need to cry themselves through frustration and fear. Even people like me. About a half an hour later, we were sitting making a plan, trying to figure out a way to keep her alive. I didn't know what to do, and I had no one I could call to help us. The only thing we could come up with was to try and get my people to understand she wasn't a threat, but Being as it was a suicide mission at best, we were left to continue trying to make a plan. It was pointless. There was nothing we could do short of stop the hunt, and the only way to do that was to make them no longer see her as a threat. Eventually, we determined that the conversation was going nowhere. Tanya, in an attempt to distract herself, asked, "Will you tell me about you?" I mean, I know I shouldn't ask and that I already know too much, but I feel like if I knew, then I could understand why they want to kill me. She looked broken as she spoke, and the sorrow and dread in her eyes was unmistakable. She didn't ask for this, and it wasn't her fault. I sighed and said, "I really shouldn't do this, but my name is Nikki. I'm a shifter fireborn hybrid. I can take the form of almost any living creature, though I prefer to shift into large cat species, usually sticking to ones that are native to the region I'm in. Fireborn is what my people call those who can fully contain and control fire, though that in itself is typically self-explanatory." I stopped for a second to take a few breaths before continuing. "I was born heir to the highest position of my shifter colony, but was disowned when it was revealed that I was fireborn. My former colony is currently hunting me in the same manner as the MHD is hunting you, the MHD being the Magic High Government. We are typically as mundane as humans. We live in a society ruled by politics. We have friends, enemies, hobbies, and families. We make strong emotional connections with each other and fear death as much as any human does. We, by all accounts, are the same as you, but with abilities. By the standards of human nature, that single difference makes us dangerous, and humans try to eradicate things they fear. That is why the fear of being revealed to them makes us so tense." I finished with a sigh, meeting her gaze. I saw something new there, something I couldn't identify. We sat in silence for a while, and after a bit she asked where she could lay down for some sleep. I looked at the time, surprised by how late it had gotten. I found her an extra blanket and pillow, and as she drifted off, I lost myself in memories of friendship that I had been forced to let die. My resolve to save her hardened. I had found a friend in Tanya, and I wouldn't lose her too. At one point I fell asleep to the sounds of Tanya's steady breathing, soothing me like a lullaby. I had been alone too long. My dreams were filled with flashes of my past, both good and bad. It was painful seeing those I had lost to my mind's eye, but it was agonizing when I relived their hate and the day I fled. I woke the next morning feeling broken and lost. I'd have given anything to go home. I sat up and looked around, my sleep-addled brain attempting to comprehend the scene in front of me. Something wasn't right. Then it clicked, and my mind woke up instantly alert. Tanya was gone. I panicked and shot to my feet, searching everywhere. She couldn't be out alone, they'd find her. My heart dropped to the pit of my stomach when I saw the note on her pillow. "Nikki, I'm sorry. I can't live my life running and hiding. I've got to find them. I intend to change their minds or die with dignity. I want to thank you for those short moments of friendship. I, like you, have been alone for too long. I'm sorry it has to end like this, and I'm truly glad that I met you. Please don't keep running. Face those who hunt you with courage. If they could understand you, they wouldn't want to hurt you. Live for both of us. Please, for my sake, stay happy. Your friend, Tanya." I couldn't stop the tears as they flowed down my cheeks. I couldn't let her do this. Her life was not something to toss away like yesterday's paper. I had to find her. With that resolve, I wiped my eyes and walked outside. I shifted into an alley cat to find her scent. And when I found it, I followed it, desperate to find my friend. Following her trail, I raced, praying I would reach her in time. I wish I could say I did. I rounded one last corner. I saw her, and I saw him. She stood tall as he raised his blade. She met his gaze, and her fear was gone. She was ready. I tried to scream. I tried to run fast enough, but the blade swung. She fell. I froze, and he walked away without a word. I raced to her side, shook her, screamed at her, but she was gone. I have waited now for over 3 weeks. My colony has found me. I'm going to face them and take her last advice. The police have no leads on the case. They never will. I had to tell her story. What happened to her wasn't right. She wasn't a threat. She didn't deserve to die. She didn't choose to know. Tanya shouldn't have died.